Alright, so I'm just going to go straight into this problem unlike the last video, which was a lot more in depth. So first step, let's figure out what kind of DNA we're working with. And as you can see, we're working with the circular plasmid, so we're going to be using circles. And this also tells us that the amount of fragments we have is also the amount of cuts we have. So as we can see, let's make our single digest first. So the single digests are the ones that involve one enzyme, and these will be our double digest, which involve two enzymes. So we can see B has two fragments, so it makes two cuts. E makes one cut because it has one fragment, and N makes two cuts. And 2 plus 1 plus 2 equals 5. So in our final digest, which involves all of these enzymes, it's going to have 5 total cuts. So let's make our single digests. Just can put SC for single digest. Let's make ours with B. B had two fragments, one worth 2100 and 2200. Let's draw our circle. So it's going to have two cuts. I'm just going to make a cut here by B and a cut here by B because I want to make sure one area is a little smaller than the other because 2100 is a little smaller than 2200, which will be over here. So this area is going to be 2100, 2200. Now let's do E. This only has one cut, so its entire length is going to be the entire length of the plasmid. We can make a cut anywhere we want because, as I said before, you can make a cut anywhere on a circle and it's still going to be one line. So this is going to be worth 4,300. We're done with that. Let's go up to N. We have 1,100 and 3,200. Let's draw our circle. I'm going to cut here, and I'll make a cut here. And this smaller area is going to be the smaller number, which is 1,100. And this larger area is going to be 3,200. All right, so we're done with our single digest. Now let's do our double digest. So our first double digest is B plus E, which has 3 fragments, so 3 cuts. And that makes sense because B makes 2 cuts and E makes 1 cut. So 1 plus 2 equals 3. So we got a 400 cut and a fragment that's worth 1,800 and a fragment worth 2,100. Let's draw a circle. All right, so let's look at the single digest with the most cuts. So the two enzymes we're working with is B and E. So those are the single digests we're going to look at. So B has 2 cuts and E has 1 cut. So we're going to use B since it has more information of where the cuts are going to be. So we're literally just going to copy it onto here. There was a cut here, a cut here. This area was worth 2,100 and this area was worth 2,200. And as you can see, there's a region right here that's worth 2,100 and a fragment that was worth 2,100 in the information we were given. So we can leave this area alone. This area, however, over here is going to be split up. And it's going to be split up into 400 and 1,800 by E. Since we use the single digest with B, we need to make a cut with E left. So let's make our cut right here. This smaller area is going to be 400. And this larger area right here is going to be worth 1,800. All right, so we're done with the B and E one. Now let's go to E plus N. This has 3 cuts as well. And between the single digest for E and the single digest for N, N has 2 cuts and E has 1 cut. So we're going to use the double digest for N first to make our double digest. So there was a cut right here and a cut right here. That smaller area was worth 1,100 and this larger area is worth 3,200. Oops. So as we can see, the fragment size for E and N, there was an 1,100 here, and the single digest for N had a region that was also worth the same number, so we can leave that area alone. However, this larger area right here is going to be split up into 1,500 and 1,700. If you add these two numbers together, it equals this. So that's another way to know that how that these two fragments are going to be or 3200 is going to be cut into those two fragments. So we're going to make a cut with E to make the 1500 and 1700 fragment. Next, we're going to do B and N. Together, these have 4 fragments, and that makes sense because N makes 2 fragments and B makes 2 fragments. All right, so let's draw a circle. Oops. So for this, you could use either a single digest since both of them have 2 cuts. So I'm going to use N since it's a little closer. So I'm just going to draw it onto this new one. So there was a cut right here and a cut right here. This area is worth 1100 and this area is worth 3200. So we're going to figure out what numbers in this little box that I'm circling equal 1100 or 3200. So we'll figure out what 2 numbers 3200 is going to be split into and what 2 numbers 1100 is going to be split into. So 300 plus 800 equals 1100. So we can split this into these 2 numbers using B. So let's use B. And this little area here is going to be worth 800. And this smaller area is going to be worth 300. And this 3200 area is going to be split into the last numbers, which was 1300 and 1900. So now we can work on our final digest. So out of all of our double digests, the one with B and N has the most amount of cuts. So we're going to copy that onto our final digest. So there was a cut right here. It's worth 800. B, this fragment was worth 300. There was a cut by N here and a cut by B here worth 1300. This area is worth 1900. All right, so we knew that N made 2 cuts and B made 2 cuts and E makes 1 cut. However, the amount of cuts we have on this is 4. So we're missing 1 cut. And that's supposed to be done by E. So up here, let's look at all of the information we have about our double digests. And let's take a closer look at the double digest involving E right here. So let's find out a combination of any of these 6 numbers that is going to equal a fragment size here, because then we can determine which of these fragment sizes is going to be split into any of these 2 number combinations. So as you can see, 400 and 1500 equal 1900. So this 1900 fragment is going to be split into 1500 and 400 by E. So let's make a cut by E. This area is going to be worth 400, and this area is now going to be worth 1500. And this is going to be our full triple digest.